stroke 73, and we're outside in Kobe in this beautiful sunny day. It's my lunch break, and I thought I'd make a quick video about why every prepper and survivalist should know first aid of some sort or other. Probably going to break this down to two parts. One would be why you need to know first aid, and the other one is to have the mindset and what mindset you need to have to actually be able to use first aid as well. So first of all, why should you have a first aid skill? Okay, well, let's put it this way: as preppers and survivalists, we're supposed to prepare for the worst and be ready for anything. So that's the first step. So why shouldn't you know first aid? What type of first aid should you know? At least study something, find out the basics and rudimentics of what first aid is and how to give first aid, even just for yourself, if not to somebody else. One of the suggestions I would do is definitely go on a first aid course. In different countries do different things. I know in America, like the Red Cross do free first aid courses. In the United Kingdom and Republic of Ireland, you've got St. John's Ambulance that will also do some free first aid courses, which are really good ones that you can do. At least try to do one of those. Go with a friend if you can. That way afterwards you have somebody you can practice with and talk about what you learned, and see what you missed they might be able to fill you in, and what they missed you can help fill them in on. And it's always good to have a training partner anyway. In our scenarios that we all kind of prepare for, we tend to forget that emergency services are not going to arrive straight away. Okay, here in Kobe, when they had the major earthquake back in 1995, most people died because the emergency services just couldn't get to them. And the reason for that is because the roads are all blocked. They don't send people in by helicopter like they do in the movies. It doesn't work like that. That usually takes a long time for the governments to actually authorise and then to set up before it actually happens. And then any that is sent out is not going to help the major amount of people that need to be helped. So being able to look after yourself and being able to sort out your own wounds and basically the injuries of people around you, your family and friends, is very important, at least if it's to stabilise them and get them ready to be taken away when rescue services do arrive, which can be between 24 to 48 hours, if not more. From my experience, most of the training that you would need is not the type of stuff that you see in a lot of preppers channels of surviving gunshot wounds and stuffing in a quick clot and things like that, or storing up on major amounts of medication. But then again, it all depends what type of prepper or survivalist you are. But in most disaster situations, just having a basic first aid knowledge and then a knowledge of being able to actually be able to secure that patient's injuries and have them ready for transport, making them as comfortable as possible, is the most important thing. In a disaster situation, that being able to actually get them ready to be transported and being able to transport them from one location to a safer location is the most important thing to do. Now, when I was doing search and rescue, the first thing we studied was basic first aid, and like everyone else, you're told, oh yes, you know, if you've got a broken leg, then cut away the trouser and fix the leg and strap it up and everything else. But when you start doing rescue first aid, it's very different, because you suddenly realise you have to think of the elements and what type of surroundings you're in. If it's winter time and you're in basically a collapsed building or something like that, cutting away somebody's trousers and trying to fix their injury that way is not going to work, because you're going to invite infection, and then you're also going to make the patient suffer from hypothermia in the long run. So being able to treat their injuries and being able to transport them at such situations is completely different. So having some type of more advanced first aid skills is very important if you are really being prepared to be a prepper or survivalist, and to know what to do and what not to do, because the type of training you get for basic first aid is not the type of training you need if you are going to be in a disaster situation and do a type of rescue situation. So these things you do have to keep in mind of the type of training you're going to do. So that's the part on why you need to do first aid. Mindset is another thing. Once you have this training and you've gone to all the training courses you can, and you got your certificates and everything else and your little diplomas to stick on the walls, Being able to actually use it when the time comes is another matter. I know lots of people who've had first aid training and they are very proud to carry around their Red Cross ID badge or any other type of license that they like to slip in their wallet and flash at people. But when it comes to actually helping somebody, they can't do it. Having the actual mindset of actually able to go up and take control of a situation and deal with the casualty and try to help their injuries is a big thing. You have to be ready to do it. What you also have to have the mindset for is that your casualty may die. It sounds like a gruesome thing, but it will happen. Our training can only go so far, and in an emergency situation, we're only going to have so much with us to actually help those type of people. So that's where being able to do triage, which basically means knowing who's going to survive and who's not going to survive, who to treat, who not to treat, who to spend your time trying to help, and those people you just can't help, and to let them die peacefully. This is something that you have to be able to be ready for as well. So having a good mindset and a good knowledge of what you might face, and even trying to get some training in what type of situations you're going to face, is very, very important. From my own experience, I've had a person die on me who I was treating, and it was an emotional situation that I had to deal with for months afterwards. It was a neighbour who had had a stroke. I went, did CPR, got them stabilised for when the emergency service arrived. They were taken to hospital, and then later on they died in hospital because of the severity of the stroke that they had. Knowing that you did all you can for the person and still they died is an emotional thing. You think, yeah, it's fine, I'll be fine, don't worry about it. But it does get to you, and you think, could I have done more? Did I do everything right? And you start going over everything you've done over and over again, and you have to be ready for this. I thought I was ready for it, but it wasn't until it happened that I realised I wasn't ready for it. But luckily, I had been to enough courses and to enough counselling to know that what was going on with me and how to solve that situation. So just remember that first aid is very important, but also having the mindset to use it has been helpful to some preppers and survivalists out there. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, always be ready.